I am James Marshall Crotty.
Sit on this side, you won't have all that on here.
Yeah?
Yeah,
God
yeah.
bless America.
Yes.
I am an adult child of Catholic Republicans from Omaha. And this movie, these two movies actually, were made, sadly, after the death of my mother. I lived on the road for 12 years, as Todd said, producing Monk the Mobile Magazine from my 26-foot Fleetwood Founder motorhome, bought at Leach Camper Sales in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I highly recommend never buy anything from a company named Leach. As Michael Monk, who is here today making a rare public appearance. Stand up, Michael. Stand up, Michael. You won't stand up. Now, we lived together first in a 72 Ford van with two cats, Nurse and Nurse's Aide, and then expanded to the Monkmobile bought from Leach Camper Sales. And with a cat named Her Holiness, the Great Dalai Lama. It's like Dolly Parton meets the Dalai Lama. She had a big tip. And for a cat, it's amazing. So anyway, it's really great that Michael's here. That's my backstory, and that's what I did for most of my adult life. And then I went back to school at St. John's College, Santa Fe, and studied the great books, and decided to give up the monk life for a while, let Michael run the show. And after that degree, I decided to become, I don't know why, I have no clue. I guess that my sister, I think at my mom's funeral, had a big influence on me, and she said, "You should be a teacher." I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So I had read about this Baltimore cop who had made a difference in the lives of at-risk men. And I've been fortunate. I went to a good Jesuit high school in Omaha, Nebraska, Omaha Creighton Prep. And the motto of the school was, be a man for others, and that kind of stuck. And so I just felt at this time in my life, I never had kids, but I kind of like, this is my chance to be kind of a father figure to men who don't have fathers. And so I gave up everything, and I moved back to New York City, and started out coaching debate at the two top schools in the city. The Bronx High School of Science, you may have heard of. I think just from that high school, there was like 15 Nobel Prize winners in physics. It's an amazing school. And I taught debate. First I taught at Stuyvesant High School, which was right near Ground Zero. These are like the two top public high schools, probably in the country. And of course I was out of my league. But I taught debate. I learned the game of debate. And the reason I taught debate is because I was the last kid cut for my basketball team in high school. And I got involved in competitive debate, and it was very much like sports. It was an academic sport, that's what I called it. And I said, you know what? I think this is something that's going to get at-risk young men hooked on learning. Like, this is going to be it. And so I learned the game by coaching at these top schools, and then I got hooked up with an inner city school. So what you're going to see tonight is a short documentary that explains debate. Because as you know, if you've ever made a documentary, you have to let the footage tell you what it wants to be. You have an idea what the movie is going in. I wanted to make the hoop dreams of debate. But that's not the footage I have. And I had a lot of footage of James Marshall Crotty. And so the movie ended up being my journey. That was not my intention. Originally I had shot some footage of these star debaters who are urban debaters. They call them urban debaters in these inner city schools who are beating the kids from suburbs and beating my kids from Bronx Science and Stuyvesant. And so I was not in the movie. I was just watching these kids. So this first movie is kind of an introduction to the activity. And then there's not time to show you the full feature tonight. We'll have an opening in the fall when it comes out. But we'll show you a little teaser, 7-minute teaser from Crotty's Kids. So there's two movies. First one is a short doc called Master Debaters. And the second one is Crotty's Kids. And before we see those, I just want to make sure I thank a couple people, because it's for Todd Nelson. I would not be here without Todd Nelson. Todd Nelson gave Michael Lynn and I always have to say that because Mike and I lived on the road for 12 years. You know, that's a long time to be living on the road, and I still can't get the travel bug out of me. It's hard to stay still. You know, you live on the road for 12 years, it's tough. But Todd, to his credit, let Michael and I, or to his not credit, I'm not sure, but he let us stay, and I'm really grateful. He gave us a place to stay. I always tell the story. My sister, who is here tonight, Carolyn, you stand up, Carolyn Crotty. Is not only my sister, but one of my best friends, and I'm really happy she's here. And I just written this book called How to Talk American for Houghton Mifflin. I was up in San Francisco, and my sister said, "Oh, you got to come down and visit. We can go to this thing called the Nebraska Coast Connection. You'll just love it. It'll just be so funny." And I go, "What? What?" You know, and to that point, I had to caricature what LA was, you know, and like most people. And so I went to this meeting, and where was it? At the
Hollywood Athletic Club.
Hollywood Athletic Club. And so I'm back there, as usual, full of myself and snarky humor, and I'm just making fun of everybody and everything, and it's a 12-step meeting, and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, you know, and Mike and I had the hardest time, because it's at the top, you know, it's at the peak of the dot-com bubble. We couldn't get a place to live. You know, we lived on the road for 12 years in a motorhome, so, you know, the chances of getting rented to are pretty slim, right? But nevertheless, so we were not getting any place to live in San Francisco, so I'm being the biggest asshole I can be at Todd's meeting. And you know, that's the key to success in LA. Okay? I'm just a complete dick, and afterwards, Todd says, "You know, we got this place available for rent in our Nebraska building." Like, what the fuck is Nebraska building? And sure enough, you know, because I'm such a dick, I got a great place to live. So that's really one thing you can take home from tonight. You know, lose that Nebraska niceness really quickly if you can. No, just know when to use it. Anyway, so thank you, Todd, so much, and I want to, of course, thank Michael. If you guys, all you filmmakers here, the best place to make independent film in LA is this place that Michael runs called Monk Space, MONK space.com. Go there. Inexpensive, great customer service, fantastic, right at 2nd and Western Koreatown. Monk Space, great. Several people here have made films there. I'm sure they will attest to how incredible Michael Lane is. And a few other quick people I want you to meet. Alon Woolman, Alon, stand up, did the sound on Crotty's Kids. He's here tonight. And he's a fantastic sound editor. Nobody is as good as Alon, honestly, he's obsessive compulsive about sound. You need to hire this man, so Alon Woolman is great, and he'll be doing the sound on the short talk as well. And there's so many other friends, but quickly, David Lodge, who was my roommate for 2 years, is a phenomenal musician, and his wife Tanya Howard. This is the stand up, damn it. David and I were in the IRA together back in Northern Ireland, and remained good friends, you know, through lots. And he ended up marrying one of these limeys. I don't understand it, but there it is. Tanya, who is a great yogini, and masseuse in her own right. And David and his friend Armin Peterson from a great band called Baden are here to make music for your films. They are phenomenal musicians, I'm telling you. David Lodge and Armin. Armin, stand up, damn it. Come on. But not least, I want to say thank you to Sue Ann. You rock the free world. She gave so much energy to getting the word out for my Kickstarter campaign that funded this movie, these two movies, helped fund it anyway. And so I want to thank you, Sue Ann, so much. And Susie Yoga, I know you've heard from Susie Yoga. She's great. I can never get her to go to anything, and she came out tonight. That's truly something. And anyway, so if I forgot you, we'll get you some other time. But anyway, the first film is called Master Debaters, and then we'll probably watch the trailer teaser right after that, and we can quickly answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the oldest teaser we had. So you saw the name Resolve. And there was another debate film called Resolve, and I had trademarked the film name before, blah, blah, blah. So I had a lawsuit with the Monk TV show back in the day, and I didn't want to repeat it, so I changed the name to Crotty's Kids. And the movie is not, actually the name Resolve didn't fit. So you learn that, you know, you kind of
take your luck as it comes. And he had made his film Resolve before I got mine to market, and though I had the name reserved beforehand, it's like first mover advantage. So I changed it to Crotty's Kids. But that is just kind of a taste of the movie. It's not the heart of the movie, but it gives you a sense of it. So I just want to say a couple things because we've gone on very long, and I know people have waited a long time. I just want to say, I mourned the loss of my mother through these kids. So it's hard to convey that in a film, but when you see it, you'll kind of hopefully get that message. And the thing I'm going to do a little publicity tour in the fall and talk about this. And to me, I gave 10 years of my life to this. And it's not about being an expert at anything. Like, to me, a lot of people, they say, well, what can I teach a kid? What can I have kids of my own, that's enough for me. Or, I'm not really an expert at anything that schools need. And that's just not true. The most important thing, giving money and all that is great, but the bottom line is, get involved with kids in any way that works for you. There are so many young men and women. I happen to focus on young men because I went to an all-boys high school, and because a lot of them drop out. They drop out of high school much more than women. Not to say that all inner-city women are doing great, but they're doing much better than inner-city men. It's just a fact. And I don't know why that is. There's a lot of studies on it, but there's many reasons. But the most important thing is to just be there as you are in your authentic self for another human being. You don't have to be a perfect human being. You just have to be there for them. And that's the thing I learned. It's not about debate in the end. It's not about chess or robotics or theater. There's great programs about movie making with South Bronx. There's great, all kinds of content out there. But the thing that it cuts through everything, the most important thing, is that you're an older male that they can talk to, joke with, just be with. That's it. That's it. That little bit is the difference. And the last story I'll tell is about, there's a scene in the movie we didn't show tonight, but about one of my kids in this movie got accused of sexual harassment. It's kind of one of the key moments in the movie, and he did harass somebody, kind of in a joking, stupid way that sophomores in high school do. And not all, of course, but and when that happened, I recalled an earlier incident where one of my kids had stolen my cell phone. Stolen in quotes. Kind of a prank. He took the cell phone. And I asked all the kids, and it was gone for 3 weeks, and it had all my data, everything on it. And they wouldn't tell me, they wouldn't tell me. Finally, they coughed it up. They said, this guy took your cell phone. And so I called him, and I'm having to get on a plane that night after practice. And I call up his mom, and I say, look, your son has my cell phone. And I've been leaving messages for the last couple of days about this. Nobody's called me back. And then she right away confronts him, what the hell? You have Mr. Crotty's cell phone. And he's denied, and finally she gives him whatever look, and he says, yes, I did take the cell phone, and I left it on the train in New York. And so I say, no, before he admitted that, I said to her, look, I've waited 3 weeks, I need my cell phone back, and if you don't get it back for me, I'm calling the cops. And she was with me all the way until I said, I'm going to call the cops. And so then we have this big meeting at the school, because these kids aren't like a lot of us, where we do something really stupid, even illegal, in high school. And we don't go to jail for that. Dad or mom or somebody intervenes, and it doesn't happen. But a minor offense like this, you can end up in jail. And that's the thing at the end of the line that I wanted to stop from happening. So when my kid at a tournament was accused of sexual harassment, I said, am I going to let this woman give this kid a criminal record for being a doofus? And I said no. I'm not going to let that happen. And so that's what it's about. Like, who's interfering? Who's going to be the interference between the kid and the prison system? It's really like it's very permeable. It's very like right. It's either there is no midway. It's so quickly that they can up the prison system. So that's what it's about for me. That's what it's about, mentorship in the end. So that's it. That's all I have to say.
We'll take a couple questions.
Yeah.
How did you get the 40 students?
How did I what? Sorry.
How did you get? You said you started with 40 students.
Oh, how did they get it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm very persuasive.
As an elective.
Yeah, they put me in front of the school. It's a small school. Only like 300 kids. And then I give my little spiel about being being like, you could be a rap star and a basketball star. And I read off the statistics of how many of you are going to be rap stars and basketball stars, right? And it's so infinitesimal. I say, just think about maybe having an alternate plan, okay? And here's an option. And then I tell them about it's a sport. It's an academic sport. It's competitive, And I like basketball and I like music, so they related. It's like, hey, this guy is not a wacko geek. I'm a geeky guy, but not. I don't know. Maybe they just bought in. I would get more than 40. I said on camera. One year I had like 70 packed into a room, and I just, that's tough. And at the end of the day, the program ended because, you'll see the movie, but it's complicated because my thing is I want to reach a few kids who really want to be there. And I'm not trying to hit a home run. I'm just trying to get some kids on base. I just want to get a few more kids graduating high school. And the funders want you to reach 100 people. We'll give you the money when 100 people show up. But like 95 of those kids don't want to be there. And I don't want to make them want to be there. I'm not about making you do something you don't want to do. But if you have the germ of it, you want to be there, I can work with you. And that's why I do after-school programs. I don't teach in a school where kids feel it's like a prison. I want to be there. I like after-school programs. Like, you want to do this? I'm here to help you. So that's how I got the kids, but I can never keep that. Sorry, any other questions?
What is the purpose of the speed reading? I find that quite annoying.
Oh, it is annoying. That's why I showed you the first doc. The second movie doesn't deal with that at all. It's more about the interactions. There's a little bit about it, but not really. But that's how debate has changed since my era. When I was a debate champion at Creighton Prep in Omaha, won the first state championship in my school's history, and we talk slowly, persuasively, normally. And then it changed. The culture speeds up. It's like there's a whole other phenomenon about speed in our culture. And I think there was a documentary about classical music is played a lot quicker than it was in the time of Bach and Brahms. And you can't tell that because you weren't alive then. But it actually sped up. Everything is sped up a little bit. And that's true in debate, except debate's just, I think it's just the information society. Everything is so quick through computers that the debaters are mirroring computers now at the same speed. So that's why debate changes, just like everything.
They don't speak clearly enough to be able to be understood.
Well, the sound isn't great. The best debaters at the very top of the game, they're talking 300 words a minute, and you understand every single word they say. It's amazing. They're incredible. But they're very few. I agree. The movie Crotty is about my disaffection from that. I hate my hatred of it. So I'm with you. Davo!
Do you know what actually happens to the kids again?
Which kids? The kids in the short or the feature?
In the feature.
Yeah. But I'm not going to give it up. What?
No spoiler alert.
No spoiler alert.
Is there a major difference between teaching kids in an inner city compared to small town Nebraska, other than the background that they would have? Or
I think not a huge difference. It's still kids. Still kids being kids. Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of my point.
With the it's just like these kids want to be touched.
It's a little different though, because one of the things I make in the film is this concept of cultural capital. I use it a lot.
Okay.
And what I mean by cultural capital is just this sort of inherited understanding of how the world works that you pick up by osmosis from your parents and community. And in small town America and in places like Omaha, and most places in Omaha, Lincoln, that aren't poor neighborhoods, that they're middle class, upper class neighborhoods, you kind of, like just in my house, for example, even though my dad was an extremely poor South Dakota and Iowa farm boy, 5 jobs, put him through school, just like dirt poor, right? And nevertheless, even in his upbringing and in my mom's upbringing, though she was lower middle class South O girl, just lived near the stockyards, nothing special about this family. Nevertheless, when I grew up, there was like copies of Newsweek around. I remember, U.S. News and World Report, or just parents occasionally would talk about foreign policy around the dinner table or around the politics of the day. And the fact that my dad was a doctor, so I'm seeing other doctors and lawyers. And that's all part of cultural capital. Mm-hmm. But if you go home to a family where those subjects aren't discussed,
just one person, etc.
And with one mom who's just working her ass off to survive, you have no echo chamber, you have no way to, you're not developing that part of yourself, let's put it that way. Absolutely. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job, it's just that there's not the cultural capital, there's not all those intellectual resources.
Just being there then.
Yeah.
Just being in the presence.
So how do you make up that deficit is the big question. Can you do it, if you never grew up with it, they get to high school, can you make that up really, really quickly? It won't happen in this classroom. It's insufficient. You need to take them out of the classroom, out of the community, on debate trips to other cities, and then they get all this cultural capital, and also they want it because they will win the debate tournaments the more they know.
True. Yeah.
There's a direct relationship, and boy, when they get hooked on winning, it's like that spurs learning, like nothing else.
Yeah, right. Nice.
There you are.
Good job, Jim.
Thanks, guys.